Hey guys, Hadrigon here, back here with another Hunter x Hunter chapter review. And in today's video, we're covering chapter 403. Now, oh my goodness, Yoshihiro Togashi, you cooked. This was the best chapter of Hunter x Hunter we've received since, excluding the Phantom Troop flashback, back with Hisoka and Chrollo in Heaven's Arena. Now, there was so much to digest in this chapter, so I had to take a bit of a breather, had to have a cold shower, go on a walk, and really digest everything. Now, earlier on in the video, as you've seen, I predicted that Bill betraying Kurapika was going to be the start of the second part of the arc, the middle portion. But I believe that this chapter right here is where things really kicked off. I believe now we're fully in the middle of the succession contest, and that this arc might be shorter than I expected it to be at the start. But this is great news, of course, for us manga readers and for the potential future anime fans. So without delaying any further, let's just get into the chapter. Now, this chapter starts off, we're on day 11, and Benjamin's main soldier, Balsamico, he's there and he's in the courtroom thinking, how is Halkenberg's ability so powerful? Because he's in the courtroom and he can feel the aura, and he's aware of course, all the Nen users, all the soldiers. Prince Benjamin's got ties to the royal army, so his soldiers, especially Balsamico, who's his main strategist, knows everything, and he's coming to the realization, he's starting to get it. He's starting to understand that Halkenberg himself is the one who's creating all this aura. And, he's got this plan where he's trying to poison Halkenberg, and he's got his poison with him, and his plan is that when Halkenberg gets taken to the judicial law and they're questioning him, he's going to release the poison and kill Halkenberg, since there's only a 2% chance the judges could get caught, and that caused an epidemic. Since, it's all about range and distance, in close quarters is very, very likely to be effective. But all of this goes out the window almost immediately, because Yoshihiro Togashi has other plans for Balsamico. So Balsamico is approaching Halkenberg's quarters, where he's of course going to take him to martial courts. And boom, Halkenberg shows up from a distance away, and he's there with all his men, and they're all just auraed up. Their auras are so potent, so powerful, much larger than other auras we've seen in Hunter x Hunter so far. And he's just firing away his Nen ability from a distance. He's like, okay, 1 foot to the right, 60 centimeters, and they fire. And this was the most hype moments since, I think, the entire arc. This was insane. They take out and they immediately kill him. And that was incredible. And of course, after this happens, everyone can sense the aura that's gone off, just because of the potency and the power of the attack. And, Prince Benjamin's very suspicious. He's talking to Balsamico, and he's like, hey, well, what happened? And Balsamico is like, he tried to kill me, but he missed, And Prince Benjamin's very suspicious that he's actually a traitor now, which, this develops this plot points. And he talks to him, and he says, you're not allowed to come back to me until you've killed Halkenberg. You need to finish the mission. And he says, okay. And, Prince Halkenberg's there debating with his other soldiers, is he really who he is, or is this just a trap to lure us into inaction, as they say, which means doing nothing until it's too late. So this happened very, very fast. Of course, after this, Halkenberg's on the phone to his mum, and this is where the revelation happens that Prince Halkenberg's mum is actually the first queen. And this means that Halkenberg is actually higher on the succession arc that we thought he was. And not only just that, but we've also learned that he's potentially beyond Netero's son. So there's lots of very interesting developments towards his bloodline. And we see that the first queen is really helping him out. She's rooting for him to win the contest. So this is a very, very dangerous alliance. And after this, we see that he won't be at the next banquet, which is very interesting, since the banquet is the one mutual event that all of the princes begrudgingly agree to, instead of the fourth prince, who's not going either. So both of these two are deciding to stand on business and to get active, whilst the others are letting their guards down and work in relations. They both realize that working in relations has no bearing in this arc, because really everyone apart from one of them is going to die anyway. So trying to make alliances has no meaning, since they're all going to kill each other anyway. And the people that really want the alliance are the people who are trying to, stall to learn more about Nen, to then empower themselves. But both of these figures, Halkenberg and the Fourth Prince, are some of the most powerful in the series at the moment. So they've got no need for it, and they're not wasting any time. The moment the first prince, Benjamin, ordered, Balsamico to go and see what was happening, Halkenberg had already started this counterattack. So it shows you just the kind of mindset, Halkenberg's in. And then afterwards, of course, we've got Melody's lover, the man from the Justice Department, who comes in and he gives this letter to Benjamin. And this is the letter that, is the last letter of Prince Catchall before she dies. And it kind of tells us all about, the first queen is Halkenberg's real mom. And that his relation to the queen makes him more of a threat than he actually was perceived to be. And, the first prince is just begrudgingly agreeing because he's trying to, keep the relationships between the Justice Department intact. Because as we know, he's got contact to the royal military. So if he can, weaponize the Justice Department and he has the military, it makes him a bit of a monarch. He's got a bit of a monopoly going on if he can succeed in this act. So he's there and he's just kind of absorbing the information, but he just, begrudges it as just rumors, which, falsely, because we know as the audience something he doesn't know, and that's that it's true. And this is what Togashi does so well in this chapter, is he builds tension, he builds anticipation, the stuff we know the characters don't know. Also, about, the soldier, we know that something's happened to him, because we know that Halkenberg didn't miss. We just don't know what it is. So we're constantly on edge, waiting for this payoff, that, Togashi keeps inserting things to make the story feel much more expansive and larger than it is. After I finished reading this chapter, I was so overwhelmed and I was so in awe that I couldn't even get my thoughts together. It was almost like a Christopher Nolan movie, like Inception, if any of you have seen that. So after this, of course, the 13th prince rejected the letter, as did Halkenberg, since, he's in the medical bay, supposedly in a really bad condition. And Prince Cherry, the 4th prince, told them to fuck off straight away. And now, I think this is so interesting, because the 4th prince has got no interest in anything that's going on. His focus is simply getting stronger. He's shutting everything down, not going to any of the events, because he knows that in the end, it's going to come down to who's the most powerful Nen user. And he's advancing in, skill at a speed we've never seen before. And there's no distractions. He's someone that's locked away, as we saw Isaac Netero locked away in the forest, with no distractions. He's willing to take L's to learn Nen. And he's just, forgetting all about the succession contest and just working on getting stronger. And I think that's scary because of how rapidly he's increasing in, potency. And I think it's also so clever, the fact that, Prince Benjamin's so adamantly targeting Halkenberg, and Halkenberg's targeting Prince Benjamin. Because surely Halkenberg is aware of the ties of Prince Benjamin to the military and how he's trying to get to the Justice Department, which is a plot point that I'll get on later on. And they're kind of both mutually aware of how much of a threat they are. And this goes back to what I said earlier, that Togashi builds tension by having us know things they don't. And what we know that they don't know is that Prince, Czecheridich, he knows Nen. They aren't aware of that fact yet. They don't know what we know. They don't know he's got 2 Nen beasts, but he's got an ability with his Zetsu to see into the future. But he hasn't even got a Hatsu developed yet. So it makes sense why they both see each other mutually as the biggest threat. But we have this tension knowing that there's a monster lurking behind, and that's 4th Prince. So I think this really adds a dynamic of, should I put this? It's like Death Note, right? In Death Note, you've got all these plot points, and you've got an objective plot line. And the way all those merge into each other makes everything feel 4-dimensional. It feels like the plot points are bouncing off each other, and it's building a sense of suspense because you're wondering, will this plot line bounce on this plot line? I think this chapter did that so well, which is why I think it's one of the best chapters we've ever had of the series, because I genuinely could not stop reading. I was going page after page after page, going back, hold on a second, going forwards, and it was incredible. Togashi really has found his stride as a writer. And I know, of course, he's already a master writer, but I feel like he has really peaked. Like, this art style he's in was amazing. The art was beautiful in this. The darker tones, the line work was great, And of course, not just the plot points, but the way they were being paid off was masterful. In fact, it was almost reminded me of Monster, if you guys have seen that manga, the way it was being handled. So continuing on, just to let you guys know, I've got a lot of notes, so I'm just going through this reading notes so I don't get sidetracked and I don't, stumble and lose focus. So after this, we've got the fact that the mark on the seventh prince's room, Lazarus, which of course was the whole meaning of getting all the princes their letters, was the fact they can go to Lazarus's room and they can mark it so that, of course, the prince Fugetsu can use a Nen ability to get to the room, because they believe he's the one responsible for the death of Prince Kacho. So this is a very interesting development. It shows us just the 4D chess going on, because whilst the letters is a substantial whilst the letters is a substantial, plot point going on, there is a subplot, a sub-reason why this is happening. And I thought that was very good to just remind us, the reader, that, this plot line we're following along with is just a distraction. This is just, the visuals, the tip of the iceberg. And I thought that was really well implemented. So after this, we see that, Prince Fugetsu is super ill. Like, she is just looking like she's on a deathbed. If it wasn't for Batcho protecting her from the evil spirits attacking her, she'd probably be dead. So the whole team, of course, they're all resting. Melody's lover, the Justice Department man, they're all taking a rest and they're all trying to, be prepared for something. They're saying things are going to kick off and we don't know the intricacies of their plan. So that's another plot of interest. That's another plot of suspense. And that's another plot of just overall layer to the story. And I thought this plot line, right, of Melody and him, at the start, it felt pretty weak. It felt like one of those ones you don't really care about, but, it's necessary. Just like in the Chimera Ant arc, there was so many, subplot lines to keep it moving. You had Killua on his own, you had Gon meeting Melioron to make that alliance, and it felt a bit like that. But now it's connected to the main plot line, and this is why I believe that this is the start of the midsection, is that all the subplots have connected to a main plot line. You've got the Phantom Troop, who's connected to the Mafia, and they're connecting to Morena, who's connected to the Fourth Prince. And I like the way we're almost going through this maze where everything's coming to the centerpiece. I think it was really masterfully done. We go after this to Kurapika, and Kurapika has realized that there's Nen that's protecting the ship. And of course, this is how we saw when, Prince, I forgot the name of the prince, but that prince died, and we saw that because she left the area of the ship. So, Kurapika's figured this out, and he knows that, we've got to stay in the quarters of the ship, and that he's getting a sort of mental mind map of the situation that's going on. Kurapika, whilst even being exerted of so much energy, whilst having used Emperor Time, he's still at his top of his game mentally, and he's still a big player in the succession contest. I think out of everyone, he's got the best shot right now, not at becoming king, but at staying alive and finding a route to victory. So I thought that was very good for us to just get reminded of how intelligent Kurapika is, because we've seen how he's been vulnerable. We've seen how he's relied more on Bill, as I said in my last video. I think this was good to, put this horse's saddle back on Kurapika. And then afterwards, we go to Zhang Li, who's, figuring out that, his Nen coins are changing. After 10 days, his Nen coins are changing from 1 to 10. And of course, another soldier who's a traitor amongst him has already figured that out. But he's figuring it out, and he's talking to all his men. And all his men are just, giving him basic suggestions, things that he's already thought of. And he's starting to have this realization that if he doesn't expand and get new allies, he's going to lose the succession contest. He doesn't even know his own Nen ability. So out of desperation, he calls Kurapika, because he realizes that Kurapika is as competent as we, the audience, know he is. So I thought that was very well done. I think it was good to, bring him in, to, ease the pace of the story, because we were kind of going from high point to high point to high point, and it could have been easy for us to burn out, and this gave us a bit of a mental breather to, a bit to nourish on the previous pages Togashi had given us. So, after this, Melody's lovers found out that all these men around Halkenberg had just passed down and they'd fainted. and Halkenberg was in the medical bay, and he realized that one of the men that fainted wasn't even one of Halkenberg's men. So he's determined to go and find this man, who's called Wario. So when he meets Wario, he finds out that Wario has the leaf on his hand, which of course is linked to Halkenberg's name. And he's thinking, how is this the case? And he's realizing that it's through a connection emotionally to the Ninth Prince. And not only that, but he's figured out that officially it's the King's Nen that's protecting the ship, and that anyone who leaves gets killed. And this was very interesting, this next point, because Melody's been suspecting him for the longest time. She knows he isn't lying because she can tell his heartbeat, but she feels like he's being manipulated, controlled, or he's got ulterior motives. And he says, Prince, let me find my notes, Prince Kacho is dead. And she's, of course, the prince that, was very close to Prince Fugetsu. They were two kids who were best friends. And they both tried to escape with his help, so to say. So that's a very important key. He was the one that inadvertently is responsible for her death. And she's died. And he seems to be the only one that knows. And he's willing to share that with Halkenberg. And I thought that was very interesting, because Halkenberg's man, of course, who they're linked, they've got some kind of friendship towards Wario. He says that Halkenberg was expecting him. So this makes me think there's some prior relationship and connection between the two, and he might be a secret informant / spy for Halkenberg. So I thought that was very, very interesting. It was one of those parts, after giving us that breather, that it left us with more questions. Not only was there all these payoffs and all this action, it's giving us food for thought for after we've read the chapter. So we get this bombshell that Halkenberg is going to die soon, and this Wario man has told this to Melody's lover, so to say, lover. And now we go back to the waiting room to see what's happening in the medical bay. And we have Prince Halkenberg, who's looking like he's on the brink of death, if not dead already. And we get Balsamico, who's calling the phone to Prince Benjamin, saying, the job has been done, the poison's been successfully implemented on him, and he's going to die within the end of the day, like I told you. And at this point, it's making us, the audience, second guess ourselves. We're thinking, hold on a second. Maybe he did miss, of course, Halkenberg. Maybe Balsamico has some power we don't know about. And maybe, just maybe, Prince Benjamin's got the upper hands. And this is where it builds that layer of tension, where the plot points of Halkenberg then re-emerges, and we find out that it's actually Halkenberg in Balsamico's body, and that Balsamico is in Halkenberg's body, and it's actually Balsamico that's dying. And this is a massive, shocker, because Prince Benjamin seems shocked, he seems surprised, but he doesn't seem convinced that it's not Balsamico. So that'll be interesting. The thing I find even more interesting, right, is that even if Prince Benjamin's suspicious, some of his soldiers might not be. Because we've got to keep in mind the importance of Balsamico. Balsamico is Prince Benjamin's main strategist. He is second in command. He is technically, by extension of Benjamin, the main guy in the royal army. So he's someone of severe importance. He's someone that Prince Benjamin trusts a lot, that he's helps Prince Benjamin strategize. And he's Prince Benjamin's, I used the Death Note analogy earlier on. So he's like Yagami's Misa. He's someone that he kind of needs Balsamico to efficiently deliver plans in a way that's less brute and less obvious for people to see coming. Because of course we see that Prince Benjamin's an intelligent man, but he's also a brute, a man of sheer power, a very masculine figure. And Balsamico was that nuance. He was that little, person in the shadows that made things happen without letting the other princes know. And now that he's gone, it really puts Prince Benjamin in a very vulnerable position. So much so that I believe Halkenberg will kill him. I think this is what it's setting up, is between a showdown between Halkenberg and Prince Benjamin. And one thing to keep in mind for us, the viewers, is that it's been revealed in the letter, the chapter before this chapter, that Prince Benjamin's got his secrets. So I think that secret's going to be revealed. I think all the plot points of the original letter from a few, chapters ago is all going to come loose in this next chapter. I think that this next chapter is going to fix a lot of plot points, and I think that it's going to, really advance the story at a pace that So far we've been slowly advancing, but now it's starting to speed up, and it's starting to, you know, it's like when we got to the palace invasion, the Chimera Antark. Things are really picking up. So after this, we go back to Kurapika, and he's asking Prince, you know, Wobble and Prince Oito for permission. And he's saying, I need permission to make the letter go public. Now this is a bombshell, because the letter's of course talking about the secrets of the princes, about Nen. And we're thinking, why would he want this to go public? This doesn't make sense, Kurapika. Why would you want to let everyone in on this intel that you've got a stronghold on? Something that you can use to your advantage. And then he reveals it. He says that he wants to announce it at the next Nen lesson and use it as a bargaining chip. Because of course, all the princes that he has tea on, he has got this information on, if he threatens to leak it, he might be able to continue the Nen lessons and delay the conflict, so that he can get a further, you know, stronghold on having a strategic plan to, you know, help the Prince Oito. So at the end of the chapter, the next Nen lesson begins. It's unknown exactly what day this is, because it hasn't come up yet in the chapter, but I believe this is day 12. I believe all the events I've talked about happened in the same day, and I believe this is the next day. So I think that this really means that through the halfway mark of the journey will be, you know, where the climaxes are starting to happen. And going back to, you know, overall this chapter, because I've talked a lot about the individual plot points, I think that this chapter is, honestly, I think this chapter is a 10 out of 10. This is one of the best chapters we've ever received of Hunter x Hunter. And the emotional rides, the amazing use of exposition through, you know, of course, plot twists, the way the characters were used and the characters were pushing the story forwards rather than being an addition to the story or a reaction to the story was great. It shows us just how clever Togashi is. And I think that this really is the start of the midsection of the Succession Contest arc. I think that this arc is going to speed up, and I wouldn't be surprised if by chapter 425, 426, 24, I believe that at that point, the Succession Contest will have come to an end, and we'll be getting ready to go in the Dark Continent. Because really, the way things are pacing up, everything's about to go down. The fourth prince, it won't be long before he's the most powerful Nen user we've ever seen. So we won't need to be training for that much longer. And we're seeing princes, you know, start to getting murked left, right, and center. And we're seeing more and more of the personnel of the 200,000 in the Black Whale getting whittled down to a smaller, more concise number with only the strongest remaining. So I think this is a really positive chapter. I saw on the Shonen Jump app, which is where I read these chapters, that there's another chapter coming next week. So at the moment, Togashi is doing it weekly. So I think this is very, very important, that the fact that all these chapters are meant to be consumed one after another in a relatively quick, you know, pace of, you know, binging, so to say. And this is because the editorial staff of Shonen Jump, it's their responsibility to make a schedule. And they will have read these chapters and have decided that this is the best way to release them. So I think that lots of things are happening right now. I think we're going to keep building. We're going to slow down a bit, and we're going to build again at the end of this arc. I would like to thank you all for, you know, staying with me up to this point of the video. I really love Hunter x Hunter, so it means a lot that I've got you guys who love it too, and we're on this journey together. You know, there's a saying by Jing, enjoy the little detours in life, because that's where you'll find the things more important than what you want. And this channel is my little detour, so to say. So overall, for this chapter, I have to say it's goated. I have to say there are no real flaws of it. You know, nothing is perfect, but this is as close as you get, pretty much. And yes, hope you guys have all had a good day. I'll be making playlists on the channel, so you can just look at the chapter reviews. You can look at my character analysis, my Hunter x Hunter theories, my Hunter x Hunter reviews, anime-wise. And yes, guys, without further ado, time to conclude this video. This was Hadrigon, wishing you all the best. Peace out. 羽ばたいたら戻らないと言って